Hello, everyone. This is Steve and David Elliot, and you're at the 3 Martini Lunch, which is a virtual networking event based on Success is Contagious. We've been doing these for a long time now, well over a year, every single week. I'm always excited to meet with some of the greatest panelists from all over the country to learn about what you do to make yourself successful. We ask a question every week. Sometimes those questions are very deep, so otherwise they're not. But we do learn a lot about one another, and there's been incredible growth on this program. Now, we are broadcasting to all the different Facebook groups. This is also up on YouTube. But we've become a mastermind in amongst ourselves. Business is being done amongst panelists. In fact, Mark Sher, you just flew out to California to meet with another panelist. You want to tell us a little bit more about that?
I flew out to California on a business trip, and it just so happened that it worked out well. I was able to meet with my fake wife, Rhonda Sher. It's pretty funny. We never met before. We have the same last name. I mean, we met on 3 Martini Lunch, and had a dinner. It was great. We're going to do some exciting things together. It was very exciting.
Well, that sounds terrific. You basically played a little bit of Rockstar Connect / Jewish Geography.
Yeah, we did that. And I learned that Rhonda, I didn't realize that she was the host of the Temecula event, which I'm sure Alex Lopez has reached out to you because he wants to take that event over.
Well, we heard from Anna Lopez, so I'll have to make sure that that happens. We just had a call today from Cooper City, and they want to bring the Sawgrass Plantation Cooper City event back up and running, and I think that'll be a lot of fun to add some more Florida events.
Sure.
Sarah and I have been in the middle of a big move, a very large move. We purchased a home and then invited my parents to move in with us. So that is merging in 7 truckloads of stuff, just stuff and stuff and stuff. And I thought it would be difficult getting rid of those antique pieces that had meaning. What we're breaking down over is stuff like, the 10-year-old package of napkins, Hanukkah napkins and stuff like that. That we can't figure whether we can keep or not. Other stuff is just flying out the door. That's why I am not in my normal Zoom room. My Zoom room is filled with my books, but will be open hopefully next week for the program. And I am looking particularly rabbinic because I haven't found my razor yet. So if any of you would like some sage eternal wisdom, I'd be happy to share it. The beard lends to it. So we are very lucky today joining the panel. I have a very good friend of mine who happens to be local here in Raleigh, but is internationally known. Phenomenal podcast that reaches tens of thousands of people each week. He, like you, Frank, is a power success coach. I'd like to introduce Jay Izso. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're here today to join us.
Well, first of all, I was late, which is just horrible. First of all, so that's a very bad first impression. So I apologize to everybody. Technology does not always do what you want it to do, but that's why you should be 15 minutes early, not 10. My name is Jay Izso. I am a peak performance coach. I am a 4-time published author. Everybody says best-selling. I don't know what that really means because, depending on the category you want to be in, anybody can be a best-selling author. So I don't know what that means. My books have been translated in foreign languages. I have a podcast called A New Direction where we interview best-selling authors, again, whatever that means, from all over the world on success and leadership because we try to help people find their success in life, careers, and business. And then in addition to that, I speak all over the world. So that's what I do. We have a really unique approach. My company's called Coaching Mavericks. No suits, no bull, just results. And that's because I come from the farmlands of Nebraska. Really quick, unique story. For 100 years, I had no idea I was Jewish, and I was working on a pig farm. So there you have it right there. So I was a Jew amongst swine. And that will be the title of my next book, by the way, for those of you who want to know. But what we do is we help people. We understand that people are four-part people: physical, mentally, emotional, and spiritual. And then the way I work is we deal with all four of those areas, and we help people try to bring those up together in sync. And we try to help them manage not just their life, but their career at the same time, because we understand that those interlock with each other. So that's a basic overview. Does that help, Steve?
That's a great overview. And Jay, if you ever get the opportunity to be on his podcast, is an incredible podcast interviewer, because he is actually one of the ones that actually reads the book. He goes way beyond just the cover. He gets into the book. He helps promote your book ahead of time, and is an enthusiastic, supporter of your book. And I'm a best-selling author myself, in #1 bestseller NPR and Nail Care. Same book. I don't know how that happened, but it went over to both categories. So I know what you mean about best-selling books. We're very glad to have you today. So we have a question today, and I think that it's sort of like I want to know a little bit more about all the panelists, but also have you answer a question for me. So essentially, everyone has been raised in a certain way. They were a certain way when they were a child. They were a certain way as a student, but my feeling is people are children the rest of their life. So the way you were as a child and the way you were raised as a child is what has contributed to the way you are as a child, as an adult. Especially for entrepreneurs, we always keep that, that childlike interest and enthusiasm that other people may not have. I mean, we haven't been beaten down. In other words, we're still here. We're still on the program, and we're working to move ahead. So essentially what I want to know is what were you like when you were a child? What did people say about you? And how does that translate to who you are today? Let's start with Domenic, for example. Little Domenic, what was little Dom like? And that's what they called you, little Dom. And how does that impact the way you are today with your business and how you interact with other people as an entrepreneur?
It's funny you mentioned that. Little Dom was what the people that worked with my father called me, but nobody else called me that. Now, I got a certain intensity level. People that know me pretty well see me relatively laid back. I've worked hard to get to that point to seem laid back, but I do have a high motor, high intensity, and I come by that honestly from my father, because he was very much of a driver personality, and I picked up quite a bit of that from him. And that's impacted me in my business life, because as an entrepreneur, I'm the type of person that is going to go headfirst into that brick wall until I go through it, right? So there's not an obstacle that I'm not going to blast directly through. So for me, it's all about perseverance and understanding that if at first you are not able to overcome your challenges, then it just means you have to try again and try again. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go head first into it, but it does mean that you're going to have to figure it out. You're going to have to talk to people that have been through similar situations to you, and find some mentorship, find potentially some coaching that can help you get to the point where you need to be to overcome your challenges and be successful. You just have to know that you can't accept anything short of your ideal of success. And once you get there, then move the goalposts.
Well, I mean, I see that, a lot of people would say, Domenic is very easygoing and an easygoing persona and a lot of fun, but you're also very intense. I mean, when you're talking business and business potential, or beyond business, just the possibility of something occurring, some opportunity, you become very analytical. Were you that way as a child too?
Very much so. Yeah, I'm definitely a logical, analytical person. And again, that is my natural state. But you have to be a well-rounded person, I think, to be a successful entrepreneur. particularly when we're all trying to sell ourselves and sell our businesses. Part of that is really focusing on developing empathy and active listening skills so that you can understand the people around you. Because what I found when I was much, much younger, in my early 20s and trying to do business, was I was trying to drive everybody else into that brick wall with me. And that did not always create the outcomes that I wanted. I had to figure out what other people desired, figure out how to give that to them in a way that would motivate them to get to where I wanted to be. Does that make sense?
Yes. And is that why you became an entrepreneur, so you can deal with more people like that but are willing to take that trip?
No, not really. It's just the opportunities that presented themselves in the course of my life led me into this direction. And, I'm not the type of person ever to turn down listening to an opportunity. And when the right ones come up, I jump on them.
This is my internet connection.
Are we down on the internet there, Stephen?
Yeah, I'm a little negative on the internet right now. I heard the last part of what you said, and I think we're back up and running. Could you repeat the last thing you said, Domenic?
Oh, just that the opportunities through the course of my life led me to what I'm doing now, and it has led me to all the entrepreneurial opportunities, whether that be when I was a chef and opening restaurants, or now doing what I'm doing now. I've always listened and been open to opportunities, and when I perceived that the right opportunities presented themselves, I jumped at the chance and took them and ran with them. So that's also part of actively listening. You have to be able to open your mind and to what is possible, and be able to vision cast that into reality.
Well, I can see little Dom saying all that stuff too, possibly.
Yeah, well, one of the things, and I that my dad always told me is, if you believe it, you can achieve it. So, he always told me that, as long as long as I am, if I believe in myself, right, I'm going to accomplish whatever it is I set my mind to. And if I believe I can't do it, then I won't. So, that's what I picked up from him. And, he was that type of person as well. And he was a very successful entrepreneur in his own right.
That's great. I mean, the way I see it now with can't is, it's not so much that I can't do something. The only reason why I can't do something is I don't really want to do that.
That's true. Well, then you're in the wrong thing.
I mean, don't you feel that way, guys? It's like there's a lot of opportunities that are put out to you, and people say you would be great doing that, but that's just not what I want to do right now.
Sure.
So, Franklin, very intense guy in the best way possible. We're now friends on social media as well, so I've seen a couple of your videos now, and very impressed. Now, Frank is the new host of our Boca event, and he is a coach. Were you intense young Mr. Franklin as well? What's the similarities between you when you were younger and today that made you who you are today?
Stephen, I think it's I'm originally from Chicago, the Midwest, so I think that has a lot to do with it. My father was a Chicago cop, so very inquisitive as a kid, a lot of questions being asked. I wanted to know why everything was the way it was. And I found myself always asking, why is this guy in charge? And, kind of the way a cop would think for some reason. And I think I carried that into my adult life. I think being a good coach in any capacity, whether it's a health coach or a relationship coach, is asking the right questions. And I think that asking those right questions are what help people get the results that they need. So I've always been intrigued by that, being able to help an individual overcome, whether it's in a race, just give them that extra leg up, or to, help them lay out some goals and to see the potential that they actually have. So I think that as a little guy, asking those questions kind of paid off to adulthood, to be able to say, hey, what are some of the challenges you're having, and really start to, dig a little deeper to help people grow.
It sounds to me like when you were a kid, you were a really good friend.
I would say I was.
Mm-hmm. How if I could ask, Frank, how old are you?
I don't reveal that too often, but I will reveal it today here on this call for everyone, all my panelists. All right. So this is the first time. Okay. Keep this in mind. I am 57 years old.
I would have swore you were at least 7 years younger.
Well, I appreciate that. I exercise, I eat right. I listen to, Jay over there. He's probably got a great podcast. I want to hear some of his stuff. So I'm excited, keep it kicking. But
well, there's certain people, you're going to be friends with, them right away, and you're certainly someone that I want to be friends with. Jay, definitely. I mean, Jay and I met 11 years ago. And I think the first, Jay evaluated me. He gave me what was the test you gave me? You gave me some sort of psychological test for Linda's office.
Sounds like a coach.
What was?
Hold on. Yeah, so I gave you the Myers-Briggs because we were trying to get your communication style, based on what you're more effective, and also kind of your thinking processes, right? I've been giving that test now for almost 30 years. And people call it a personality test. It's really not a personality test. It's really a test of understanding, first of all, just a few dimensions, you're introverted, extroverted, how, you take in information in the world, how you process that information, and what your style is of being able to work within the world. Is it more of a freestyle, or is it got to be more organized? And so I gave you that. And I don't remember what the letters were right off the time. But that helped me because I want to know that before you come in, because I want to know how to talk to you.
I remember what you said, though, after I took the test. He said, the results of the test are, we're going to be really good friends and have a lot of fun with one another.
Yeah, I think, because you have an introverted spirit, you're intuitive, and you have this kind of balance between your feeling and thinking process information, because you feel, you care. And then, you weren't too high of a J where you had to be so organized. You gave yourself a little freedom to kind of fly by the seat of your pants every now and then. It was okay. So I was like, okay, I can live with that. That's all right. That was great.
Well, that's great. So what was Jay Izso like as a kid? You're a tall kid.
Yeah.
Athlete.
Yeah. So I was always, an athlete. I was always, I love competition, but I am incredibly rebellious. And I was always rebellious as a kid. And that rebellion is what drives me, because there's always another idea, right? Everybody likes to be in a box, I think, because they're comfortable in a box. I know that we have to embrace discomfort if we're ever going to grow. It's just a fact. If we stay comfortable, we will never grow. We're going to stay stagnant, and we actually don't stay stagnant. We die, because either you're growing or you're dying. That's it. And so I've always had this rebellious spirit. I ran away from home for a week. I challenged my parents regularly. I challenged throughout my entire life. I've always challenged things because I did not like the status quo. I did not agree with the way you did things. And I believe that as a coach and doing what I do, I believe in challenging that all the time. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I know, and like Frank said, and even what Domenic said, right? And I wrote this down. Perseverance is critical. Having those listening skills is critical. But Frank is also correct. You have to keep asking the question. And it doesn't matter what answers you come, you've got to have the freedom to allow yourself to ask wild questions and try it. Because that's where things can happen. Right? You have to take the risk. You have to take the challenge. And you can't do that without asking questions and being perseverant and listening to everything around you. It's not possible. So that rebellion and excitement, I've always loved to be exciting. And I've never met a stage I didn't like. There's no such thing as a stage too small or stage too big. So That's something that I grew up with. I mean, we used to, as little boys and kids, in the summer, we used to put on little plays and skits for the neighborhood. I lived in a town of 119 people, so I only had to have 11 to have 10% of the population. So that was also part of it too, is to be very animated as well. So those things carry over with you because it's necessary for the different things that I do. And I was kind of a Renaissance guy. I played music. I was an athlete. I was an actor. I was a writer. I did all these things. So people go, well, you're not focused. Well, of course I'm not focused because I like doing them all.
Yeah, you were trying to find your highest passion too.
Right. And they all are.
Our 11-year-old has recently said she's trying to find her passion. And
right.
We're just, great that she's able to enunciate that that's what she wants to do and that's what she's looking for. Your company's it's coaching Mavericks. So the rebellion's right there. So do you work with the rebellious, or do you teach people to be rebellious, or do you have people that handle them to use it in a positive way?
I love you. I really do. I love that you did that to me. No, here's what I realize in every company that I work, and I work with a lot of salespeople, but I work with a lot of CEOs and people in C-suite professionals or founders or owners. I recognize that they want to do things in their own way. And when we want to do things in our own way, there's a little rebellion attached to that, right? Because, if we ever try to be somebody else, if we ever try to do it like Steve Jobs, the best we are is like trying to be a copy of the Mona Lisa, right? Because Steve Jobs is going to be Steve Jobs. Otherwise you're just a cheapened version of that. And you might say, well, that's good enough for me. But the whole point of coaching Mavericks is that we're all a Maverick. And I like working with those people who like doing things in their own way and finding a way to utilize their natural God-given gifts, talents, and abilities, skills, passions, so that they can find their purpose in a bigger way. And we're all uniquely designed. Every one of these people on this panel, I'm looking at 10 people on this panel, 11 people on this panel, 12 people on this panel. We're all different. And you all have a unique set of skills and abilities and talents that you bring to the table. And because you do that, right, that makes you a Maverick on your own. Because
100%.
you do it.
I mean, I think that you're born that way.
Right.
People, I in my company, I'm the visionary officer. I'm not the CEO. Sarah runs the company. She runs Rockstar Connect with her team, with Kim and Alan and everybody else that's involved with the company. I always said that I was uncoachable, unteachable, and incorrigible. So when I create things completely out of the box. I don't pay attention to what anybody else is doing, and it may not even be on my radar. And that's what enables me to do something in a different way for people like myself that want to be successful in that way. So in our company, we do not create rock stars, just like you don't create rebels, but we work with rock stars and we enable them to do the best that they do, the things that they're best of doing in a consistent and efficient manner, because it's all about efficiency. Jay Izso has a lot of things that he's interested in. If he wasn't efficient as well, he wouldn't be as happy at Jay Izso.
So true. It is so true. It's
right.
So
and that's
true.
that's what coaches, the value of coaches like Frank and Jenny and Katie is to provide that ability to say, this is what you're good at, do this. I'm going to help you with all the efficiencies. That's stuff that you never wanted to deal with before. I'll provide that for you so you can be the best, Frank Lind or the best Damon King you're going to be. Let's go over to Katie. One day, Jay, you're going to have to go down and learn a lot about Katie, because Katie is a coach, but she's also a founder of a not-for-profit. Very unique idea. Why don't you? It's been a while since you told people what you do. And then sure. I know you've told us a lot about the way you were when you were a kid and how that translates to who you are today. So we'd like to hear more about that.
Sure. So I'm the founder and executive director of the nonprofit Going Places. And we provide new custom bikes to every child at once in the low-income elementary schools and big surprise bike reveals. So we're giving like 400, 600 bikes at once. And our bikes are custom made. So they are unique and they're special and they stand out, which is really fun, years later to see kids on our bikes riding down the street. And then I also have an online academy with a business partner of mine who lives in the UK, and he's a nonprofit consultant. So between his expertise and then my unique expertise of founding a nonprofit, that's where we're at after 4 years is where most nonprofits are at after like 10 or 12 years. It's gone viral. We've continued to get national media attention year after year. And I was a guest on the Steve Harvey show. He donated $20,000. Lester Holt flew in a camera crew. It was in Time Magazine, like literally viral. And so we've been able to keep up that momentum year after year. And for instance, at our gala we had a month ago, we raised $70,000. We netted 50, and that was our first gala. And most nonprofits don't even break even after their first gala. So we were very pleased with the $50,000, gain at our first one. So, but yeah, so that's kind of what I do. And then, the online academy, what that is we have several courses in it where we can help nonprofits, whether it's like, I don't even know what a 501c3 is, but I want to have a nonprofit, to they're several years in, they're kind of stagnant. They're not really gaining more money year after year. They don't really know what else to do to get that next level. We help them scale, leverage, and grow and kind of push into that next level. So anywhere in between. And as a child, I was very sassy. I was also an only child. And so I was a rule follower. I've always been a rule follower, but I was definitely like sassy. And I was very outgoing, always talking, very independent. I had to be, being an only child. I learned to play alone a lot. But yeah, I mean, I was always a really good student. Well, not like good grades wise. I have like several learning disabilities, but like, listened, didn't talk back in class, raised my hand, like front row, crisscross applesauce, eyes on teacher, hands in lap, like ready to learn. But yeah, so, and I think a lot of that translates into my adulthood because I'm still that same way. Like I'm still a little sassy. But not disrespectful. I follow rules. I'm still really outgoing. I make genuine connections with people, which I think I did a lot as a kid. I genuinely I didn't go to family functions and just was too cool to talk to anybody like a lot of teenagers are, or like little kids get like shy and weird. Like I hate when kids do that. I was not like allowed to be like that. Like my parents like, you will engage those adults. So you're not going to like mumble and walk away. And it just became part of who I am. So like I genuinely engage people and have conversations. And I think that's a really important way to connect with people that I've been doing my whole life.
That's excellent. And I mean, I know your father's a pretty exceptional person as well.
Yeah.
Now, did he motivate you to be the way you are, just to do what you want to do the way you want to do it?
Yeah, I mean, both my parents, like my mom did full-time volunteer charity work and my dad was a freelance writer. So writer, director, producer in TV. And so he was an entrepreneur. So I kind of have combined both of their passions. We were fortunate enough where my mom didn't have to work. She started working after I went to college for about 15 years. But that's, it was nice that I had, it was like my parents never, like I grew up in LA and then I went to school in University of Colorado. So I lived in Colorado. Then I lived in Chicago for 6 years and I've been here in Charleston for 10 years. Never once were they like, come back to LA. Like, we'll buy you a house if you come back home. Or they never tried to like lure me back with stuff. They were like, go do what you want to do. It's our job to follow you wherever you end up. It's not our job to try and like guilt you into coming back to live where we live. Like, it's your job to do what you want to do and go where you want to go, and we will follow and be part of your life. And so I've always really appreciated that because that's what their parents did. When they were 22, they both lived in Chicago, and that's what they grew up in Michigan and Chicago, and they moved to LA together on a whim because my dad's like, I'm going to be a famous writer, even though we've never been to LA, let's move there. And so they did. And they said that never once, and that was very unusual back then. to grow up in the suburbs of, live in the suburbs of the Midwest and to just like go to LA. And, it's just, people didn't do that as much then. You kind of stayed in your neighborhood and live within a few miles of your family. And their families never once tried to get them to not go. They were like, great, go do what you live your life. And so they said they really appreciated that they never felt guilted to like stay or come back. So they wanted to make sure they did that for me too.
Well, that's very important. I apologize. I froze up in the middle of it. I had to actually switch machines, but it's always great to know more about you people. Katie is for those who don't know, is a host of Rockstar Connect in Charleston. Yep. How many years have you been doing it now?
Last year, I guess, doesn't count because we never got to really do it, but it will be 3 years every month, technically 4, but last year didn't get to happen. So this will be my 3rd year.
Excellent. And when is your next event?
It's always the 4th Tuesday of every month. So we were supposed to do it last month. Wait, what month are we in? Supposed to do it this month, but there was an emergency at the restaurant and they had to cancel the day of. But it actually worked better for me because I was moving apartments literally that same day. So I was like, okay, this worked out well. But it's gonna happen in July. The 4th Tuesday of every month at Ruru's. We've switched locations from East Bay Street Beer Garden, and now we're at Ruru's.
Well, I was speaking with someone today, and I said that's one of the great things with Rockstar Connect, and we want you to do a consistent event. But if God forbid you have to cancel or reschedule an event, it actually can be done. Because Alan and his team, they jump in immediately and they're speaking to the venue and they're sending out emails. And most people do not have the luxury when they have the event to actually transition out of the event because if they had a problem or an emergency. Rockstar Connect does that for you. Now, Damon King is out in Oklahoma. You may have seen him on television or radio. He'll talk a little bit about that. But his event is coming up. I'd love to know what you were like when you were a kid and how it translates to the way you are today, Damon.
Well, I was just as good looking and charming as I am now, Stephen. I mean, nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed at all.
Actually, I was a chubby fat kid when I was little. I knew life was going to be different for me when we would go to Sears and my mom would take me to the Husky section to get.
I know that section.
To get my pants. And I always wondered how come I couldn't have those kids' pants over there. And my mom was very honest and said, because you can't fit into them. And so,
you're the only Husky kid in Oklahoma, though.
No. I mean, hell, it's the South. Fried foods are all over the place, right? I mean, if you're not fat, you're not trying. But I was shy. I did not easily make friends. But I did discover something, as I got into junior high, that I had a gift for singing. I like to make people laugh. And I discovered that I was a performer. And so I couldn't get the girls to like me from just my sheer athletic and physical prowess, but I discovered that I could get them to like me if I could make them laugh. And so I would tell jokes and then I would sing and I would make up songs with funny lyrics and things like that and different voices. And so that helped me get out of my shell a little bit. But what I didn't realize was that was kind of laying the groundwork for me to be a public speaker. I've been told by many people, you've got a great voice for radio. And so I've been able to use that. But I was on a vocal scholarship in college. I got to do a lot of things with music. I got to tour throughout Europe when I was in college. And all of these different experiences really, again, laid the groundwork for me being a financial advisor. And you might think, well, how does that translate? Because I don't view my job as a financial advisor as just managing assets. I view my job as a financial advisor to you're going to save those assets whether I work with you or not. My job is to help you take that money that you've saved and go live life and have fun. Because not only was I shy, but I didn't like being told what to do. I didn't like taking direction from anybody. People would say, well, everyone has an opinion. I'm like, yeah, but mine's the only one that matters. And
that's starting to see a common theme here amongst our
so I did not like being told that I couldn't do something. I also relished being underestimated. I don't know if does anybody ever watch the show Columbo? You know, the
love that show.
Columbo? Yeah. One of my favorite shows. And what I like most about Columbo was that he was perfectly happy to have people underestimate him. He was perfectly happy people thinking he was bumbling and stupid and incompetent, because by the end he played that so well that they never saw him coming. And of course he always got the bad guy or girl in the end. I love being underestimated. And I tell people all the time, I tell my two sons, let them underestimate you. They won't see you coming. But I took that desire to entertain, so that, on our television show, on our radio show, we're talking about money, but I can find a way to make insurance really fun. Okay. I love talking about tax code. Okay. It's like the most boring thing ever, but I love telling stories. Storytelling was a big part of my life. I was a professional fundraiser in the nonprofit world for 12 years, and I told stories. I raised millions and millions of dollars, but I did it mostly through storytelling because I love to entertain people. And, you can tell a story about a difficult situation, but still touch people here. So today, that rebelliousness, that I don't like being told what to do, translates to stop thinking that you can't afford something or that you can't do something. And I don't mean just stuff. I mean dreams. There's this belief in this country that success is some scarce resource that is only allowed to be owned by the blessed few. And that is so stupid. And so I don't like it when I hear people limit themselves. I tell this story all the time. It's like, you got to shift the way you think. Okay, you drive down the road and you see your dream house for sale. And you see the price is $5 million. $5 million is a lot of money, right? But what's the first thought that enters your head? Do you think, oh, I could never afford that? Or do you think, what do I have to do to afford that? And those are two different ways of thinking.
When I was a kid, I used to pick up the amortization table.
Yeah.
The amortization book is, how much do I have to make to have? Yeah.
That's right. And you start doing the numbers, and so I went from the fat, shy kid who didn't have a lot of friends to, eventually I got taller, I lost the weight, and then I got on stage, and I'm a lot like Jay. There's not a stage that I don't enjoy. I've performed in front of 20 people. I've performed in front of 20,000 people in a big arena. And, I've toured through Europe and I sang with B.B. King, and I got to meet Miss France in 1996, and I even kissed her. So I was like, take that, you people. That's what the fat kid did. I kissed the beauty queen. Okay. So, I just love seeing people succeed. I don't like to see people acquiesce to what others think that their life should be. It takes hard work, but I really do believe that most things are possible. Now, not everything is possible. No matter how much I try to work, I'm not going to be 6'5" to be able to play in the NBA. I'm a 5'11", partially bald dude, but that's okay. I can work with partially bald. So that's me.
Great stuff. Thanks, Damon. Let's go over to Jennifer Williamson, who continues to have incredible successes in her business. Last week, she had a very large announcement about her success. What prepared you you're pretty young, but when you were a child, what prepared you to be where you are today? I mean, you really did you know this was going to happen? Did you plan? How did it all occur?
So you have to be a very imaginative person your whole life, pretty much, and someone who wants to be innovative in order to keep doing this and have the drive to want to do your own startup. And no matter what industry you are, you have to be super determined. You have to be very patient with it. And I'm in the patient stage right now. I'm just waiting. keeping my mind occupied was my other side of my business, was the advertising and Carolina Bulletin, and making sure that, you know, is still successful at the same time. So I'm like kind of nervous edge right now. But growing up, I'm super creative, all that sci-fi, geek, fantasy. Grew up watching all the movies from Indiana Jones, Star Wars, all the sci-fi shows from The Outer Limits, Twilight Zone, X-Files, Stargate, you know, everything you can possibly name. And you know, it's one of those things where, you know, I knew immediately I wanted to be an artist, but in what field? And as I got a little older and then kind of figured out how the industry played out, it's like, oh, okay, I want to be a concept artist. Okay, that kind of is small because you're at kind of the bottom of the art department. Okay, I want to be an art director eventually later on. It's like, okay, great, but I want to make the decisions for the whole project to say, okay, why don't I just think about it bigger at the standpoint of I'll be a CEO of an animation and film company. Okay. That's a long-term goal. Goal is kind of stewing from a young age, and then I just kind of put it to bed for a bit and just let me practice my business and get used to, you know, working with people and workflows, etc. And once you get that experience in your belt, then you get more confident later on and say, okay, now I know what I need to do. Put together a business plan, do whatever it takes to make sure you find the right people, and then just keep at it, and hopefully something will. And, you know, which is looking like this is turning out to be as I announced last week. So, you know, knock on wood, like, everything goes as planned. And, you know, it's, you know, you to all the creatives out there, you know, if you want to do something big, you know, think big, don't limit yourself, and, you know, just keep practicing your best craft and see how far you can take yourself with it.
Jennifer, do you feel that you were born at just the right time for you to do what you want to achieve? I mean, was this the time you should have been born?
Yeah, I think I was born at kind of like in the awesome 80s period and then early 90s. So I got to enjoy all the awesome, great movies, Back to the Future, and all the great TV shows that came out, and then also the birth of the graphic software, the Adobe suite. They were just coming out. So I practiced that, and I was taught that in 1998. So yes, I have over 20 years experience using that. So during the birth of that, that's when I totally fell in love with creating digital art and using that and figuring out how I can turn that into a career, etc. And then, of course, I was on the verge of the internet. So right before the internet, I was really engaged into the big, the creatives of fun video games and film industry. And then eventually that built up the foundation for me to go at it when it started really booming later on in the 2000s.
You're incredibly inspirational. My daughter is an artist, as you know, and she's just starting at University of Florida in graphic design. I would love for her to connect with you because she too has a dream of not just wanting, she wants to be an artist, certainly, but she wants to be more than that. She wants to have impact. And also she wants to make money at what she does. She doesn't want to be a starving artist. I'm glad to hear that. So thank you, Jennifer, for everything you shared there. We're going to go Mark, and then we're going to go Devin, and then we're going to let Jenny close us out today. Mark, so I know the first time Mark and I got on the phone, he told me everything about his childhood. I knew how he grew up. We had a very similar childhood in South Florida, and Mark has achieved great things. Mark, do you want to jump in?
Sure. Thank you, Steve. So I think the thing that's helped me the most is that I was very blessed in that I was a bookworm. I guess you could call people who say, oh, you're smart, but I was also athletic. So I was able to take the kids that used to get picked on because they were bookworms when we were little and help them transition to get more accepted by the general population in school. But the thing that I learned that by doing that, and what some of them learned and the ones that didn't, are hermits today, is that you have to be able to relate to people. Okay, you have to make whatever you're doing in life relatable to other people so they understand it. And I think that's what's made me be able to become so successful in life in general, and more specifically in the finance world, because a lot of folks, all kinds of people come and tell them this, that, the other thing, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And it's all goes over their head and it's glazy. And when you can make people really understand what's going on, A, they feel more comfortable with you. And B, they want to do business with you because they don't think you're trying to, push them into something that they don't understand, which happens to so many people. And that's the thing that I think that I got the most from growing up is learning that it's very important to make yourself relatable to other people. You could be the smartest person in the world, but people don't care about that unless they can relate to you. Does that make sense?
And I also hear in you that you defended your friends too.
Sometimes, depending.
But that's a good skill set to have, to bring up others with you that that deserve it.
Well, in my business, obviously, I'm one person. I want to touch hundreds of thousands of people possible, and the only way I can do that is by teaching other people what I do. And if I can't be relatable, I can't win because I can't teach them how to win.
Well, I mean, you do have a personal history, and you're always willing to share it. If anybody has an opportunity to get on a call with Mark, I know Domenic has spoken with Mark and others. Great guy, great information, and frankly, he's an educator. If I would say one thing about Mark, he teaches. He's an educator, and that's the highest compliment.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Devin Norton, our newest entrepreneur, having great success in what he's doing. Look at his phenomenal office there on the Vegas Strip somewhere. It looks pretty incredible. You're sort of new to this, but you're not too far away from when you were younger. What are you taking from your youth to your adult career today?
It's funny. I've like in the last couple of years, I've asked my friends a lot recently. It's like, when do you stop feeling like a kid? Because it's like I still want to have fun. I still want to be excited, and like I don't want to do the boring stuff that I have to do that now that I'm independent. But it's like I always have those desires, and so it's like I don't know. The first thing that really stood out to me when you asked this question was right away. My mom would always complain that I asked too many questions. Like I was a super inquisitive kid, and she'd be like, "You're asking too many questions," and I was like a snotty kid, and I'd be like, well, Albert Einstein says stop, never stop questioning. And so I would always use that and just always ask questions. But what I realized was that I've had such an easy time making friends in my life because of that like tendency, because right after high school, I went in the Army, and then my civilian job was sales, and I would easily make friends because I would easily make friends back in the day because what I was doing was giving them attention they craved, because I couldn't just take a story at face value. Everyone likes to tell a story and, be in the limelight, but I couldn't just be like, oh, cool story. I'd be like, that little detail that made it so cool, what happened there? And I would always just dig and dig and dig. And so it made it really easy in my new business now because like I don't have to be strict on my sales process. During my sales career, I was always given these scripts. I had to do these things, have these rebuttals, these objections. And this, I know what I'm doing, and I know what I offer, and I know what other people do that you shouldn't do. And I just have all the information. And so when I just ask people enough questions about their goals and about their desires, it organically paints me as the expert. But at the same time, it's like I'm that guy who cares for them. And so also my whimsical, fun-seeking nature of always wanting to have fun and always wanting to have some excitement, it kind of like gets them to want to joke back with me. And I've realized from my sales process in the sales world to actually being a business owner is that I'm not like, it doesn't feel like I'm acquiring clients. It feels like I make a friend and then I help them out. And so that's really helped me a lot. The people who like end up buying from me typically know before I even make them a proposal because of the questions I ask them.
Well, that's great. I mean, the sense of humor, the levity. I think that when you stop at that childlike nature, I think you lost. I think your life is over when you stop feeling young and acting young. And I think you've achieved what a great salesperson is trying to achieve, that rapport. With my clients, I'm very happy that they're my friends. And because I ask questions about them and I determine what their wants and what their needs are, I'm able to actually be very successful in fulfilling all those wants and needs. So thanks, Devin. We really appreciate your input. Jenny, I always love to have Jenny give her point of view. And I can imagine that you were quite the child.
Like what? So like, I'm really curious to think about, like, to know like what people think I was like as a kid when they meet me now, because like I was always loud, and I was always boisterous, and I had high energy, and I was the kid that my mom kept asking them to test me for ADHD. And they were like, no, she's got a little excessive energy. Like, she's just, a little hyper. And my mom be like, are you sure? But because I compensated and I had like I was able to get through all of the grades with really high marks because, and while I sat in class and read a book that was not related to the tests, like the class.
I would get detentions for that all the time. Yeah.
So like, but I really like, if I could like describe my childhood in one word, like it would be like, I was like the divergent kid. I didn't fit in anywhere. I fit in everywhere. And when you're young, that's really hard because when you're aware of it and you don't feel like you're a part of those things, and you really want to be, right? Not only because like as humans we're conditioned to be that way, we're supposed to be in like tribes and all that good stuff, but like, you see it happening and you're not a part of it, right? So, I think that for me, I, as an adult, am not like what I was as a kid is not reflective of how I am now. Like I was able to like come into myself and blossom and grow later in life than I was able to really capture as a kid, even into college and my early 20s. So I think becoming a parent myself and turning 40 was really like, well, not 40, but like late 30s into 40 was really like the aha moments that I was like, I don't give a rat's patoot about anything anymore. And I would not say those words. I would say other words, but we're broadcasting live. And those who know me know I would say other words. Because I don't like, honestly, like, I'm like, you know what? It doesn't, in the scheme of things, it doesn't matter. Right. Like it doesn't in life or death situations. It's not life or death.
It's, so much of what happens, it's intentional, but not intentional.
Right.
What developed and what became your life was what it was meant to be.
Right.
Now you're riding that wave and enjoying it. You're comfort in yourself.
Yeah. And it was really hard. Like I had a very, like not hard, like my parents are awesome and I didn't have to, like, I didn't worry about I worried about a lot of things, but that's just because I'm an anxious person. But like, I didn't have to. I just, like, my brain just happened to do that. But, like, I didn't need to want for anything. Everything was there. And my dad worked from home. I come from a whole line of entrepreneurs. My dad, my grandpa, my brother-in-law, I married into an entrepreneurial family. Like, it's all entrepreneurs all the time. And yet, I was required to go to college. Like that could not have been my path, right? Until I made the choice for myself where I was like literally soul sucking. I'm dying in this job and I have to do something else.
It's, the whole thing with, and to bring Jay into it, Jenny started off as a social worker. And I started off as a social worker. And what we found is what we learned as social work just applied so well to when we got into the entrepreneurial and business world. And I know that you were a therapist as well when you started out. So this is why it's all relevant. Jenny is probably the person I'm most similar to on this panel, except the fact, that she's a woman and I'm a man. But otherwise, we are very similar personalities, same strengths, but also a lot of the same weaknesses. but a lot of people don't see our weaknesses, which is good. We can keep that hidden and show the strength, which is a great thing. And that's what I think one of the things we learned when we were kids.
Yeah, I don't look at it like I spent a lot of time blaming myself and beating myself up for having weaknesses in the first place until I reframed it in my head. And I mean, believe me, like we're talking years and years of therapy. Like it's part of the process. Okay. To reframe it is not a weakness. It's just where I need support, and learning that asking for help is a strength, and reframing it that way. So like,
you wouldn't be an empathetic person if you didn't have those characteristics, and you wouldn't be able to serve your clients as well.
Right. And I was always very highly sensitive, which I don't think was like parents then in the 70s and 80s were not aware of what it meant to have a highly sensitive child, right? Like I know as a highly sensitive individual and an empathic person, what it means to have a child who is highly sensitive. And so the way I relate to my son and the way that I'm teaching my parents and my husband's parents, like the way that we are teaching them to relate to our son is very different than the way that I was handled as a child, because they didn't know, right? Like I'm aware, you know better, you do better, right? I know better. So I'm now able to impart that knowledge and awareness on multiple generations, right? But also like I know my kid, I hope my kid won't struggle the way that I did.
Right. And I think also it allows you to know that there are people out there that you can help, but you also know there are people out there you absolutely cannot help.
Absolutely. And there's people that I know that I cannot work with, and I'm okay with that. And it's learning to say, I'm not the best fit for you, but here's a list of 20 people who will be a better fit for you. And it's cool. And it's kind of letting that go and understanding that it's going to come back one way or the other.
It's a great common experience. I feel that everyone on this panel, we are sensitive people. We have grown from our experiences. We all want to help other people. That is our number one motivation. Yes, we love the material things, $5 million homes, working from your yacht, etc. That's just all little extra rewards compared to being, a person that contributes to society in an impactful way every day.
Am I the only one that thinks about like the $5 million house or the yacht and goes, oh my God, the maintenance, I just don't have the energy for that.
I'd be like, how many bathrooms do you have to clean in the $5 million house?
Like, no, thank you. Just give me the bungalow on the beach. I'm good with
right now we're living in a house with one more bathroom than I've ever lived in a house ever in my life. And it's a little bit of a quandary. Why do we have this extra bathroom? What is it for? Can we use this space? I don't know. Can we turn it into a giant refrigerator? I'd have more use for that. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Let me say something. If you have a $5 million yacht, then surely you can afford someone to come clean all those bathrooms.
That's true. Yeah.
So just keep in mind, there's always a solution.
There's always a solution. Hey, Jay, why don't we're coming up at the end of the time. It's your first time on. What are your thoughts? Do you want to speak to any of these nice people here on the panel?
I'm thoroughly impressed with everybody. I've been taking notes on everybody and what you said and what you brought to the table. I love Sassy Katie. I love Damon, the fat kid who kissed the Miss France. I love Jenny, who is, I'm loud and outspoken. I really don't give two patoots about what you think about me or whatever. And I'm going to teach my parents how they're going to handle my kids. So get over it. Okay. So I love the way that Frank loves Colombo, because I had a Uncle Geza who actually was the chef for Vincent Price. And he told me at 14 years of old age, he said to me, grab me in a bathroom, of all things. I never met him. He grabbed me in a bathroom in New Jersey and said, listen to me. I know you don't know me, but I'm going to tell you something. Be stupid, but play stupid, but be smart. And I remember him saying that to me. And that's something that stuck with me my whole life, because I do believe in being underestimated. And I love that. And I love the inquisitiveness. I love Domenic and persistence. I love Devin. Thank you for serving our country, and the fact that you still have that childlike inquisitiveness and spirit. We didn't talk about this with Jennifer Williamson, but you know what? The fact of the matter is we need to use both sides of our brain. We have to have the creative with the logical. We need both sides, and because that's the way we are, and we have two halves of the brain, and we need more people like her out there to help us experience that other side, because if we have creativity and we have our our ability to have a great attitude and great effort, and we multiply that times creativity, we can always have success. That's my equation. Attitude plus effort in parentheses times creativity will always equate success, because we're in control of our attitude and efforts at all time. And then I look at Mark Sher, who is quiet and humble and a lovely man who educates the world and has this tremendous desire to see people succeed in every area of their life. And it blows me away that we have people like that who are so dedicated to seeing those people and wants to bring them along. We all need that mentor who can just pick us up and dust us off and say, I want you to come along with me, because we sometimes don't have enough confidence in ourselves. And Mark is one of those people who wants to bring you up with him. But everyone, including you, Stephen, everyone on this panel, you said it best. And that is, I believe that we all have one purpose, and that we want to make this world a better place, and that we want to use our God-given abilities and talents and skills and passions to be able to find a way to help people become better in whatever way that is that we do that, and I think when we are focused on that, and when we know our how, Simon Sinek likes to talk about knowing your why. I like to talk about knowing your how. How is what you do affect and make the world better? Because when we know our how, we never want to retire from that. Because,
yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that today, because I know people, I have friends that I was on the phone with a friend yesterday, and he said he's getting ready to retire. And he's the same age as I am. I'm like, I've never even really thought about retiring. I want to do what I'm doing the rest of my life.
Right. Yeah.
And my how is through Rockstar Connect and
right.
having networking events around the country and putting rock stars, leaders in places where they can have impact on other people. That's the most meaningful thing for Sarah and myself. I really appreciate everyone being here today. It was a great session. Everyone out there in social media land, I hope you got something out of it as well. We'll be back here, same time, same place, 2 p.m., 3 p.m. Eastern time for the 3 martini lunch. Nobody's having any martinis today. When we started out at the beginning of COVID, we had a lot of martinis. Now we've become a little more passionate and serious about teaching and educating. So check out rockstarconnect.com for your closest events. If you know someone who would be a Rockstar Connect host, please go to our website, rockstarconnect.com, and make them known to us. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.